Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome.
There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
As long as the Matrix exists, the human race will never be free.
Start somewhere. It has to start sometime. What better place than here? What better time than now?
Terrorists! Terrorize this.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
Let the eagle soar like she's never soared before, from rocky coast to golden shore. Let the mighty eagle soar with healing in her wings, as the land beneath her sings. Only God, no other kings. Let the mighty eagle soar.
Yes.
This country's far too young to die. Let the eagle, let the eagle soar like she's never soared before.
Well, that was a clip that just didn't want to stop, everybody. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to subject you to that for that amount of time. That was former Attorney General John Ashcroft doing his own rendition. Oh, it's actually still going. I just turned the volume way down. It won't stop. It refuses. It's unstoppable. So, we're going to get back to Mr. Ashcroft a little bit later in the broadcast. We'll check out a couple quotes from him concerning the Patriot Act. But until that point, let's kick this thing off. Greetings, free thinkers, ascensionists, freedom fighters, and future FEMA camp liberators. It is Monday, December 19th, 2011, and you have found yourselves feeling a little ronery here on the front lines in this war on our humanity. I'm your host, Darren Stone, broadcasting to you live from the radiation capital of FEMA Region 1, the state of Massachusetts, or, as we like to call it, the Commonwealth. Open phone lines tonight, people. Open phone lines. Let me make sure I have something going on here. Hold on. All right, I'm good. Yes, open phone lines tonight. 917-889-3064. 917-889-3064. It's time to speak up because I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to do that, you guys. I don't know how much longer programs like The Front will be on the internet with SOPA coming down the line here. But one thing to remember is trying to convince government stormtroopers that Obama Hitler comparison you made 3 months ago on your blog was just jokes, is not the time to make your voice heard. So 917-889-3064. And, those of you that call in this evening, I have to bribe you guys. You just might receive one of those fancy new front T-shirts that all the cool kids are talking about. Just saying. You could. You might. I'm not going to promise it to everybody. If you have a good call, free T-shirt, okay? Hey, hello, P2P in my chat room. Long time no see, my friend. Good to have you back. All right. Where are we going to start tonight? Where are we starting? How about with the normal thing like plugs? I have to be honest with you guys. I really wasn't even going to do the program tonight. I'm not feeling all that great, but I figure the Christmas weekend is almost upon us, and I'm still undecided about a Thursday show. Sorry. That's just the way it goes with a one-man operation. Just how it goes. We'll see. But we are doing one this evening. Before I get started, if you happen to hear some clicking in the background, here, hold on. Hear that clicking? That's my new Geiger counter. That's right. I'm getting a 17 counts per minute reading right now. I've seen a couple 62 counts per minute today. Some spikes when I went outside in the wind. But just received that this morning. Getting to know it. Like to tell you at the iPhone store, bring your iPhone home and get to know it. Okay? I'm getting to know my Geiger counter. So a lot more information on this as the days and weeks roll by. But first, a lot of new listeners to the program. I want to say thank you to everybody who's ever listened to the show, if you're still listening. Okay, thank you very much for all of you that have been there since the beginning and all you new people taking time out of your lives to check this thing out. I want to say, if you have a second, check out the Front's official website, frontradio.net, frontradio.net. I'm going to let the website speak for itself. Okay, that's it. Just check it out. That's all I'm going to say. If you're a Twitterer, it's The Front on Twitter, and the O is a 0, so it's a front with a big old O on it. That's right. I'm not going to do the Kleenex joke after that one. And if you have any good info, some show suggestions, anything you want, please email me at thefront@live.com, thefront@live.com. I want to thank Amir. Appears to be a gentleman out of Canada that's writing some decent articles. I just received an article from Amir today concerning HARP activity up in Canada. And I'm gonna talk to Amir and see if he might want to come on the program. So Amir, if you're listening to the program, think about that for a second. Might invite you on and we'll have a discussion, my friend. All right. Also, check out the Front's YouTube channel, the Front at YouTube. YouTube/Front. I'm going to give some plugs to some of my good friends out here in the movement. Check out Rad Chick for all your radiation information on Facebook, Rad Chick. And, her page is growing like crazy. She puts out the most radiation info that I'm aware of. And it's things that you all should be aware of as well. So check that out, Rad Chick on Facebook. And speaking, while you're on Facebook, go over to the Front on Facebook and like it, please. Thank you. Service, point you to Rad Chick. And thegovernmentrag.com. Check out the Government Rag. My friend Stephanie Sledge is now featuring the Front on her website. So thanks to Stephanie for doing that. And check out her page. She has all the true news every day for you at thegovernmentrag.com. And last but never least is Orion Talk Radio Network. All my friends over in the Orion Talk Radio Network, great programming. And my friend Jules, who helps me with the websites and emails and everything else for this program. She's actually hosting a show this evening on Orion at 10 o'clock called WTF, stands for What the F. It's kind of a round table, a little bit of humor slipped in there, discussion of everything that kind of makes you scratch your head and go, what the F. I may be joining her on that program tonight. So if you need a little bit more of some frontage on your Monday evening, check out What the F on the Orion Talk Radio Network tonight at 10. Okay, that's enough for the plugs. All right, let's get right into it. So like I said, I wasn't sure if I was going to do the program tonight, decided to do it, and I don't have a lot of preparation. So, as I mentioned, the phone lines are open. So you feel free to call, right? 917-889-3064. Some T-shirts. Now, if I get no calls and I'm even giving away a T-shirt, then I don't want to hear anybody bitching and complaining if I'm trying to ask for a donation for a T-shirt. You know, that I had a little issue with a guy yesterday who basically said that implied that I was in this just for the money. Because he challenged me. I was a guest on another program yesterday afternoon, and in the chat room he asked me. He said, "Front host, is there a donate button on your website?" I said, "Yes, there is." You know, he basically alluded to the fact that I'm in it for the money. So for all of you out there, I have hauled in about $320 in T-shirt donations. It costs me a little bit under $100 every month to do this show. So I have enough money to keep the show on the air for another 3 months. So yes, obviously I'm in it for the money. Living large here on Alternative Radio. I'm going to address a comment in chat. Sure, P2P. Throw up the link. I don't know what the link is, but throw it on up there since it's kind of a loose format on tonight's program. What I do have lined up for you, a comparison between the Germany's Enabling Act, which was passed under Hitler's Nazi Party, basically got rid of all the democracy in Germany. And it was passed under the guise of protecting the citizens from those dirty, evil communist terrorists. Where have we heard that line before? Okay. So we're going to look at that. Also, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but a judge has ruled that, yes, Iran was involved in 9/11. 10 years later, someone decides that now Iran was involved in 9/11. So guess what's going to happen? We'll talk about that a little bit. I mentioned my Geiger counter, and I still have that article I wanted to cover on the last show, The Poor Man's Guide to Survival Gear, so we'll rip through a little bit of that too. All right. Let me address another question in chat. How do we get onto the Front's incredible email list? Well, all you have to do is just you can leave me a message anywhere on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Actually, don't leave me anything on Twitter because I barely check Twitter. I don't like it. It freaks me out, but I'm on there anyway. Email, whatever. Just, send me an email and say, hey, I want to get on the Front emailing list. We're putting that together. So we will start sending out the emails sometime in the near future. Okay. We actually already sent them out, but we'll start sending them out on the next email we send out to the new people who send in their emails. Okay? Got it? Something like that. Okay. All right. So where are we going to start here? Let's start with well, you know what? The other thing today is Kim Jong-il died. Don't know if you guys knew about that. Probably pretty sure you did. But poor Kim Jong-il. I mean, really, what was the guy? Was he misunderstood? Was he just a little Ronery? I don't know. I think about it, and the pictures and the things we hear and see about North Korea look horrible. It's always dark there. It's always gray. It's like Mordor. But I've never been there, so I don't really know. And since the United States empire, the UN empire, the NATO empire, whatever you want to call the empire, if this was Star Wars, that would be the empire. You have to ask yourself, why didn't we decide to go in and take out Kim Jong-il if he's such a horrible, vicious dictator? Don't know. Buddies with China probably has something to do with it. I really don't know. I don't know. It's just questions I ask. I know all the reasons that they give It's just, it most likely has to do with resources, and he was a useful idiot. I mean, he could, the media and the politicians could scare us with Kim Jong-il and missiles coming over from North Korea, and he's crazy and all this other stuff. So was he really that much of a threat ever? I'm not asking if the guy was crazy or not. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe he wasn't such a threat. Useful idiot. I don't know. So now we have a 20-year-old kid in charge. And he already started shooting off some missiles. So, hey, while the cat's away, we'll hit the red button and shoot some missiles off. Don't know what's going to happen with that. Interesting. But poor Kim Jong-il. Very ornery and misunderstood. Let's play a little tribute to Kim Jong.
Why is everyone so fucking stupid? Why aren't more people intelligent, like me?
Intelligent?
I'm so lonely, so lonely, so lonely and sad, real alone. There's no one, just me only, sitting on my little phone. I work very hard and make up great friends, but nobody listens, no one understands. Seems like no one takes me seriously, and so I'm lonely, a little lonely. Poor little me. There's nobody I can relate to. Feel like a bird in a cage. It's kind of serious, but not really, because it's filling my body with rage. I'm the smartest, most clever, most physically fit, but nobody else seems to realize it. When I change the world, maybe they'll notice me. And until then, I'll just be lonely. Yeah, little lonely. Poor little me. I'm so
Ah, yes. That was his biggest hit ever, by the way, just so you guys know. His biggest hit ever. He was just Ronry. That's all. All right, that's enough Kim Jong-un. All right, so let's check out the shocking parallels between the U.S. Patriot Act and the Nazi Enabling Act. We hear this comparison tossed around here and there, but let's go into it a little bit, okay? So let's check out these two statements here. Statement number one, quote, "The people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same way in any country." Now, those of you in the chat room have the answer in front of you in my scrolling pictures. But those of you who are downloading and listening through other mediums do not know the answer, but I will tell you in a second. And statement number two, "To those who scare peace-loving people with phantoms of lost liberty, my message is this: your tactics only aid terrorists, for they erode our national unity and diminish our resolve." Okay, that was statement number two. The first statement is a quote from Hitler's right-hand man, Hermann Göring, explaining at his war crimes trial how easily he and his fellow Nazis hijacked Germany's democratic government. The second statement is a quote from Bush's right-hand man and the talent behind the opening song tonight, Let the Eagle Soar, John Ashcroft, defending the Patriot Act and explaining why dissent will no longer be tolerated in the age of terrorism. Now, look at what John Ashcroft said. He did not mention the word rights at all. He says, again, "To those who scare peace-loving people with phantoms of lost liberty." That would be people who are touting the Constitution, people that are touting sovereign citizenship, people that are touting messages of the Founding Fathers. His message to people like that is this: your tactics only aid terrorists, for they erode our national unity and diminish our resolve. See, nothing in there about rights and freedoms. National unity, right? National unity. And, you know, I get really PO'd when I hear people, when people use a Hitler comparison to Obama or a Hitler comparison to Bush, and somebody starts screaming and crying, that's just way off base, and you can't even compare the two, and blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what happens now? Now that we have Obama in the White House, when you compare Hitler to Obama, okay, and this isn't, for anybody that understands the New World Order and globalism, none of these decisions came from these individuals themselves. Okay, these decisions that they make to pass legislation, to take part in legislation, to say the things that they said in public speaking engagements, all of these things were pre-planned by the central banking system, by, what do we want to call them? Think tanks, such as the Club of Rome, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, okay, the League of Nations back in the day. So that's why we see such similarities. And it's not, you know, now that we have Obama and a Democratic president there, we get people saying how when people get labeled who make the comparison, okay, just using factual evidence, okay, that anybody making that comparison must be a extreme right-wing radical comparing Obama to Hitler, and obviously they're going to throw the racism thing around with that. Of course, all you have to say to combat that is, hey, I was a Herman Cain supporter. Even if you weren't, okay, and I don't know why you ever would be, but just use it. Just use it. That's making me useful idiot. So that's it's wrong, you know, and people who make those claims or denounce that there is a definite parallel between the two governments moving through their progressive stages of tyranny, doesn't know anything about history, hasn't done their homework, and is basing their defense on ideology and beliefs, not on actual true things. All right. So let me see. Let me see here. All right. So let me just go into this a little bit more. Many who think that this is an overreaction need only to check history, as I just said. I mean, time and time again, it has been shown that governments and corruption are synonymous. I mean, we all know that. Look, I didn't start doing this show to try to tell people the government's lying to you. The government's messed up. The government steals. We all know that. But this goes way beyond that, okay? If I didn't feel like people were in actual physical harm and danger, I mean, if the government was just greasing their own pockets and without really, stepping on us, okay, like George Orwell said, a glimpse into the future. You want to know a picture of the future, it's a boot stepping on a human face. If that really wasn't the future, and actually the present in a lot of instances now, I wouldn't be doing this show. I wouldn't fill my mind with such unpleasant information, But like I said, it goes way beyond that. Way beyond just greasing your pockets and taking a little extra cash here and there. They murder and kill, and they implement soft kill weapons programs that murder more of us over time. They steal all of our wealth. They steal our property. They beat us in the streets. So it goes a little bit beyond greasing their own pockets. But let me get back to this here. So democracies can only work when the people put their trust into authority. The more democratic the society becomes, the more likely it will be abused by governments/authority as it becomes progressively easier to betray citizen trust. It will come as a surprise to most that Hitler's Germany and Stalinist Russia started with one of the most democratic governments of all before their day. And again, we see how governments dupe us. You know, I always say this. When people talk about mass murderers, they like to talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Ed Gaines, the cannibal guy from Russia. I can't remember his name. You know, people like that. Mass murderers, people, you know, the biggest mass murders in history are governments. I mean, do we have to name off names? Really? You know, they've killed millions of citizens. Millions. Including our own government has killed millions of innocent citizens. But we don't look at leaders, you know, of the supposed free world. We don't look at the president of the United States ever as a murderer. I mean, I do, but most people don't, you know. So some weird thinking we have, right? How we can justify that, or how some people can justify that. All right. So let me see. So again, we see how governments dupe us. They continually guard the interests of corporations ahead of our health and wealth. It is clear that their primary goal inevitably turns to protect and do the dirty bidding for the industry under the pretense of protecting citizens. Those who think that governments are needed for our protection, security, and well-being are sadly mistaken. Instead of expecting the government to stem the tide of corruption and self-interest, we continually see their dismal track record of betrayal. And this is true as well. Name one terrorist plot the government has stopped. And you can't mention any of the 23 CIA-funded and FBI-funded terrorist plots that they supposedly stopped. Sorry, I haven't been looking at the chat room, you guys. I'm just kind of rolling, but I just noticed you guys are chatting it up on there. I like to see that. Yes, I will address this. We do have politicians labeling people as terrorists. And for those of you that don't know, before I go on with Germany and the United States comparison, IBM created the tattoo system for the concentration camps. Did you guys know that? IBM created the tattoo system. And guess who one of the guys was that used to hand the Jews their numbers or assign Jews their numbers? That would be George Soros. He said it was the greatest time of his life. Yes. But he's not in prison for Nazi war crimes, is he? No, he's not. Anyway, back to this here. Both Hitler and Bush were funded and ultimately ushered into power by wealthy industrialists, otherwise known as the military-industrial complex, looking for government favors in the form of tax breaks, big subsidies, and laws to weaken the rights of workers. Well, that's half the battle, people. I mean, that's half the truth, people. The rest is we have, quote-unquote, philanthropists like the Rockefellers and, Kissinger and Goldman Sachs. No, they're not really philanthropists, I know. But people like that and Bill Gates that want to implement their eugenics projects in there too. So it's all rolled up into one neat little package of oppression and tyranny. So both Hitler and Bush were funded and ultimately ushered into power by wealthy industrialists. What is even more surprising is that Hitler's PR man was actually an American, so they know the routine well. Okay, yeah, that's right. His PR man was actually American. Let me see here. Let me get down to this. Sorry, usually I print out my articles. I'm doing this off the browser because, like I said, I was a little behind the eight ball getting ready for tonight's show. So, we are creatures of comfort and trust, and that's true for most people. Most people can't fathom or even start to think about the fact that their government would like to put them in a civilian internee camp or kill them. People just don't want to think about that kind of thing. I understand. Learning the truth of the world is a very difficult process to go through, but it is a process, and eventually you get to the end of it. And I will say it does get easier. You learn how to deal with it, I guess. Some people may view you as not being able to deal with it and think that you're negative or whatever. There's nothing you can do about how people view you. There really isn't. I guess if you're okay with yourself, that's really all that matters. But we are creatures of comfort and trust, and sadly, we are not generally motivated until it's too late or things get unbearable. Like Salente said, when people finally lose everything, they'll lose it, and that will be the truth. When things become tactile to people, they get up in arms about it. That's why people got PO'd about the TSA, because there's actually hands on your crotch. It's tactile. We can feel it. And this is why we have such a hard time convincing people about the radioactive fallout from Fukushima. It's not tactile, okay? You have to just be aware of it. It's not they're smacking you in the face or grabbing your crotch. But so it's true. We are trusting, and we enjoy our comfort, and we usually won't get motivated until it's too late or things get unbearable for us. So remember, also that it can be very difficult to see the situation when one is on the inside looking out. Even though we have seen it before, history will continue to repeat till such time as we grow up. Unfortunately, the vested interest with governments. Okay, let me see. This is not written well at all, so I'm going to skip ahead. Sorry about that. But basically what the guy's trying to say is you're not going to get off your ass and do something until it's probably too late to do something. And that's why in my opening greeting to the show about calling in, I try to stress the point that, now is the time to speak up. Now is the time to talk about it. This show is meant for discussion. It's not meant for me to give you my opinion. I end up doing that most of the time because we don't get a lot of caller action on the program. But hey, I'm open to anything. I would love people to call in and prove me wrong about any of the things I'm saying, and let me come to the understanding that things are not as bad as I think they are. That would be wonderful, because then I could go back to caring about stupid things, okay, like most people care about. So that is why I try to bring that to people's attention in a joking manner by saying things like, hey, being called out of your house by 3 a.m. with a black bag over your head is not the time to make your voice heard. It's going to be too late at that point. So I do it in a joking manner, but it is a serious thing. So let me see here. Let me see. Here's a little history here. On March 23rd, 1933, Hitler pushed the Enabling Act, which provided the newly elected Nazi government with additional powers to act against enemies of the state. And this legislation, and this is why we're doing this, bears remarkable resemblance to the USA Patriot Act. Notice how it is labeled the United States of America Patriot Act, and that's because the United States of America is actually a corporation. America is the country. So how the Patriot Act compares to Hitler's Enabling Act. On March 23rd, 1933, the newly elected members of the Reichstag met in the Kroll Opera House in Berlin to consider passing Hitler's Enabling Act. The Enabling Act was officially called the Law for Removing the Distress of the People and the Reich. Opponents to the bill argued that if it was passed, it would end democracy in Germany and establish a legal dictatorship of Adolf Hitler. To soften resistance to the passing of the Enabling Act, the Nazis secretly caused confusion in order to create an atmosphere in which the law seemed necessary to restore order. On February 27th, 1933, Nazis burned the Reichstag building. That is what is commonly used to show proof that false flag terror events have been used continuously through history. One of our biggest false flag terror attacks was 9/11, right? So Hitler burned the Reichstag. The SS burned the Reichstag in the middle of the night, which was equivalent to Germany's Congress. Burned that building down to the ground, said it was done by communist terrorists, and the people had to support the Enabling Act so that the German government, the Nazi government, could protect the people. Sound familiar? Okay. So they successfully blamed the fire on the communists and claimed it marked the beginning of widespread terrorism and unrest, threatening the safety of the German, quote, homeland, right? On the day of the vote, Nazi stormtroopers gathered around the Opera House chanting, "Full powers or else, we want the bill or fire and murder." The Nazis used the opportunity to arrest 4,000 communists. Not only did the Nazis use the incident as a propaganda against the communists, but they also arrested additional 40,000 members of the opposition. Consequently, the Nazis had achieved their objective of eliminating democracy and ensuring the majority in the parliament. After the fire on February 28, 1933, President Hindenburg and Hitler invoked Article 48 of the Weimar Constitution, which permitted the suspension of civil liberties during national emergencies. And by the way, people, we have the same executive order. I'm spacing out on what it's called right now, but we have the exact same thing in place. If our government declares a state of emergency, all civil liberties are suspended. That's martial law. Okay, that's what martial law equates to. Some examples of this decree of the Reich President for the Protection of the People and State abrogated the following constitutional protections: freedom of the press, free expression of opinion, individual property rights, right of assembly and association, right to privacy of postal and electronic communications, states' rights of self-government, and the protection against unlawful searches and seizures. Wow, that seems pretty similar to what we have going on here in this country right now, right? But see, they haven't even declared a state of emergency in this country yet. I'll correct myself on that. I have heard that we've been in a constant state of emergency for a long time, but I don't quote me on that. Just something I kind of remember. But so whether we are or we not, or whether we have or we haven't been in a state of emergency according to our government, look at what the Enabling Act would suspend. Okay. All the things that we are all complaining about now, right? We can't say what we want. We don't have freedom of expression. We've had Joe Lieberman. We've had Joe Biden. We've had Dick Cheney. We've had John Ashcroft, Paul Wolfowitz, Barack Obama. I can't even remember. Who's this? What's his name? Oh, God, he looks like he's 11. Oh, I can't remember. He's a Republican guy right now. Lindsey Graham. All these people have stated that people who oppose government opinion are a threat to national security. So they're labeling us, or people that are listening to my program, myself, people listen to programs like this, we are already labeled as terrorists. So we don't have the freedom of expression, right? Our individual property rights. I mean, how many? Look at the banking fiasco we have going on here. Property getting seized all over the place. Homeless rates are skyrocketing. Tent cities popping up all over the place. We have no right of privacy for electronic communications. We all know that our phones are being listened to, not by people, but by huge, massive data filtration programs. Our social networks online, our emails, whatever else is being monitored. I mean, even in my iPhone, if I take a picture with my iPhone, the data in the pictures of that picture that I took on my iPhone give the exact coordinates of where that picture was taken. Why? What is that for? Why does that technology even exist in my phone? What advantage to me, the user, does that have, especially when I have no possible way of accessing that information, even though I took the picture? So who would want to access that information, and for what? Right? We have no protection against unlawful searches and seizures. And, of course, once you're labeled a terrorist, you can be invoked. The Patriot Act can be invoked upon you. And like the post I put up on my Facebook page today about that 16-year-old kid, it was a 2009 story. 16-year-old kid, FBI, CIA bust down his door and at gunpoint and haul him off to jail under the Patriot Act and label him a terrorist. 16-year-old kid. American flags all over his house. all over his room. Surely didn't look unpatriotic, but I guess he was unhappy with the way the government was acting. They weren't acting like the government that he learned about in his high school classroom. So you can understand the disconnect this poor kid had, but nevertheless, 16-year-old terrorist, right? I don't know what's happened to him. So if anybody has any follow-up on that story, let me know. But anyways, back to this. So before the vote, Hitler made a speech to the Reichstag in which he pledged to use restraint. He also promised to end unemployment. Boy, we've heard all this before, haven't we? And promote multilateral peace with France, Great Britain, and Soviet Union. In order to accomplish all this, Hitler said he first needed the Enabling Act. Since this act would alter the German constitution, a two-thirds majority was necessary. Hitler needed 31 non-Nazi votes to pass it. The Center Party provided these votes after Hitler made a false promise to them. 440 votes were registered for the Enabling Act, while a mere 84 votes were opposed. In glory, the Nazi Party stood to their feet and sang the Nazi anthem. The German Democratic Party had finally been eliminated, and Hitler's dream for Nazi command became closer to reality. All right. Hitler and his handlers. Let me see. So let's look at a little more of a comparison. And if I'm not being rude, I'm not looking at the chat room at the moment, you guys. So if there's something happening in there, give me a minute. So a 21st century comparison of the Enabling Act and the Patriot Act. Last September, German justice. Now this article is a little bit old. This article I'm reading is from 2000. I think it's from 2005. Let me see. Yes, 2005, June 22nd, 2005. So, it wasn't this past. It wasn't this past September, but last September, German Justice Minister Herta Dobler-Gmelin, sorry about that, I butchered that one, pointed out that George Bush is using Iraq to distract the American public from his failed domestic policies. She capped her statement by reminding her audience, quote, "That's a popular method. Even Hitler did that." What was lost in the reaction to Mrs. Dobler-Gmelin's comments was that she wasn't comparing Bush to the Hitler in the late 1930s and early 40s, but to the Hitler of the late 20s and early 30s, right, in the beginning of his rise. So most Americans have forgotten that Hitler came to power legally. He and the Nazi Party were elected democratically in a time of great national turmoil and crisis. Again, the parallels. It's uncanny. Sorry, another Team America reference. They themselves had done much to cause the turmoil, of course, but that's what makes the Bush comparison so compelling. Similar to the Bush administration, the Nazis were funded and ultimately ushered into power by wealthy industrialists looking for government favors in the form of tax breaks, big subsidies, and laws to weaken the rights of the workers. When the Reichstag was set ablaze in 1933, the Nazis framed their political rivals for it. In the general panic that followed, the German parliament was purged of all left-wing representatives who might be soft on communists and foreigners, and the few who remained then voted to grant Chancellor Hitler dictatorial powers. A long, hideous nightmare had begun. Now, I'm a little confused here in this article. In this article, I did not read this before I went on the program. I was under the impression... let's see. I was under the impression, well, the Nazis were a socialist party. So, I don't know. But look, the fact that the Patriot Act got extended in the Obama administration, and now we have the NDAA, we can see the progression has continued into the Obama administration. So this was obviously written in 2005 when old Georgie Bush was in power. So history teaches us that it is shockingly easy to separate reasonable, intelligent people from their rights. A legally elected leader and party can easily manipulate national events to whip up fear, crucify scapegoats, gag dissenters, there's your SOPA, and convince the masses that their liberties must be suspended, temporarily of course, in the name of restoring order. Consider the following two statements to see if you can identify the authors. Okay? Now these are the same two statements that I read in the beginning of the segment here. So let me see. This article goes on. If I took more time, I could have found a better comparison, but I think I'm making the point. So here's 10 key dangers of the Patriot Act that every American should know. Number one, the government can conduct sneak and peek searches. All right. In which agents enter your home or business and search your belongings without informing you until long after. The government agents can force libraries and bookstores to hand over titles of books that you purchased or borrowed. Federal agents are authorized to use hidden devices to trace the telephone calls or emails of people who are not even suspected of a crime. There we have a little bit of thought crime, right? The FBI is also permitted to use its magic lantern technology to monitor everything you do on your computer, record not just the websites you visit, but every single keystroke as well. I often say this. Every single stroke of your keyboard is compiled in a database, an NSA database, in a fusion center somewhere with your name on it. Possibly for those babies that were born while the government was taking DNA samples of every single baby born. Oh, yes, that happens. Every single baby born has their DNA taken and submitted to a government database with the name of the child on the file. So you are, for children born while that was taking place, and honestly right now, everybody, I can't tell you when that practice started. I just know that it's happening now. So that we will reach a point where you will, as an individual, your name, your file will be as thorough as every single thing that you've ever done, place you've visited, keystroke on your keyboard, phone call you've made, email you've sent, television show you've watched, websites you've visited, things you've said in audio over the internet, and all of that, including your DNA. Why would they ever need all of those things? What else do we have here? The CIA is granted authority to spy on American citizens. Okay, well, we all know that. Oh, we forgot about this one. In addition to the Patriot Act, the Bush administration also gave us Operation TIPS, a government program that encourages citizens to spy on each other. And now we know that Operation TIPS, because most of us never heard of Operation TIPS, that has transformed into See Something, Say Something. Okay? It's just the same old stuff repackaged and marketed out in a different way with a new sound bite to make it sound oh so safe. What else do we have? What else do we have in comparison here? Okay, I'm gonna be done going through this because it is just huge. And I think that we've made the point. If we haven't made the point, please call in. Let me know if I've missed the point, or if you have more points to add. Okay. Let's move on here. Let me move on. Okay. So a little rationalization, people. Let's go through. Let's have a little rationalization session. Oh boy. Here's my rationalization. I'm getting there. My browser's slow. Hold on, please. All right. So we have a Supreme Court judge. Let me look. And people are going to say, "Oh, man, if you want to host a talk show, you really should be better prepared." Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. But even as unprepared as I am, I hope you're getting the points. Oh, I cannot find this guy's name, this judge. But anyway, a judge has now ordered. I guess this was they tie this to 9/11 families somehow. That like they were going, I don't know. So I probably shouldn't have covered this. But the bottom line is, whatever the details are, whatever. The bottom line is, it's now being propagated out there that Iran suddenly had something to do with 9/11. And when I posted this story, my comment on it was so now Iran was behind 9/11. I'm glad they finally cleared that up. So sorry about that, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Libya, Somalia, Pakistan, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. Our bad. All right. Now, really, are we going to go for this? You know, I don't know how people feel about Iran, but honestly, I don't. Iran has never denied weapons inspection. Iran, the people of Iran are just like us. They play Xbox, they play PlayStation 3, they go shopping. You know, they're not a bunch of animals. They're families. You know, I believe Iran does not take part in central banking. I believe that to be true. I could be wrong on that. But, I mean, I cannot believe that the American public will go for this again. You know, to me, it seems Iran, the area of the world where Iran is located, it's like one of the oldest places on the planet. There's so much history there. To me, it's almost like, you know, yes, I understand people say we're over there resource grabbing and pilfering for oil and gold and all of this stuff. But there's a lot of history there, a lot of ancient history that maybe, just maybe, the empire wants to get its hands on. I don't know. I'm just speculating on that. I'm just speculating because my personal opinion about history, human history, the history of this world, is that we know very, very little about the true history of this planet. And I think that is one of the greatest secrets that's being kept from us. And I think that what would be divulged in those secrets would lead us to really truly understand who we are as the human race, as a human species. And I believe that that is one of the or the most important facet of this dictatorial global empire is to keep that information suppressed so that we never do realize our true potential. Because the truth of the matter is, people, the reason the police state is in place, the reason for draconian legislation like the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act is to keep us in control. And if they weren't afraid of us as a mass group, none of those things would be in place. When you and I'll compare it to this. When I was younger, I used to do a lot of martial arts training. Okay, and I'm not saying I'm a martial arts guy. I'm definitely not. I haven't practiced in years and years and years. Okay, but I used to, and I used to be into it. And what I can tell you is that when you are in the groove and your training is going very well and you've progressed through a bunch of it, your confidence is sky high. And it's not the fact that you want to go out there and lay somebody out. It's just the fact that you are very confident in your abilities and you don't want to get in a fight or any physical confrontation with somebody because you're very afraid that you will actually hurt them, seriously hurt them. So you would avoid that at all costs. When I was heavily into that, I would do anything I could to avoid a physical confrontation. I would look like a puss in front of people. I would go, no, you're right. You know, man, no, I don't want any part of that. Sure, fine, I'll walk away. You know, unless somebody put their hands on me, you know, or was threatening somebody I was with or physically hurting somebody I was with. But use that as a comparison. If our government was true, if our government was real, if our government really was out to spread freedom, peace, democracy, whatever they want to call that, and protect innocence and crush evil, then we wouldn't be erecting a police state. We wouldn't have, you know, police getting ready to hold riot shields that will actually suffocate you with sound waves. We wouldn't have, you know, urban assault vehicles that our police have with mounted LRAD cannons that will, you know, blister your eardrums and drop you to your knees with sound waves. You know, we wouldn't have shoulder-mounted laser rifles on police that are coming soon that will temporarily blind you. You know, they wouldn't have these things if they were really who they said they were. If they were really who they said they were, None of those things would be necessary because the truth would be a defense. That's it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And these people that bring us to war and take your freedoms, and let me say something about that. The only way they take our freedoms is because in our minds we have viewed them, or we allow ourselves to view them as a powerful entity over us. This is all perception, everybody. This is all perception that is pushed upon us. And when people feel powerless to change anything because they're just one person, that is only a perception. That's all that is. That is a way of thinking. That's it. And you out there, every single individual out there has the ability to change their perception of how they view these things. You people, all of us, should be extremely pissed off about the way we are treated and the way that we are perceived and what we have being pushed upon us by those that we supposedly elect to represent us. We should be, doing exactly what Occupy Wall Street is doing. We should. And I say that because the Tea Party people are, I don't know where they are. They're afraid of the winter or cold or something, so they're not doing anything anymore. It's like Bill Cooper said, if you guys read Behold a Pale Horse. He mentioned something, he calls it the silent weapon. It's propaganda, it's media, it's political correct speaking, it's censorship. It's all of these things combined. It's the most powerful weapon that there is because it changes ideology, it changes mindsets, it changes perceptions. I personally have to avoid government structure, government officials. And I just got caught up in it right there. I called them government officials. They are not officials. They are servants. If we start using correct terminology, maybe it will help to dispel some of the perception out there that these people have the right to steal our property, to beat us in the streets, to bring us to war. They're going to endanger your children, okay, with thermonuclear war. Never mind the danger they're putting us all in right now by sweeping Fukushima under the carpet, by not telling you how to protect yourself against radioactive fallout. So they leave that to alternative media, and the perception of alternative media is that it's loaded with whack jobs who should be taken with just a grain of salt. But who lies to you more, people? Is it people like me? Do I lie? I mean, I'm just using myself as an example. We can use my friend JJ on his show Against the Wall. We can use my friend Jules, who's going to be doing What the F tonight at 10 o'clock on the Orion Talk Radio Network. We can talk about Popeye, who does a show on Orion Talk Radio called Down the Rabbit Hole. We can talk about Bob Tuskin. We can talk about I don't even have to tell you what show Bob Tuskin does because he's so famous, everybody knows. But we don't, those people, what do we have to gain by lying? None of us make bank from this, people. All of this stuff we do has deeply affected our personal lives, our pocketbooks, our stance in our social circles, in our private lives. I've lost lifelong friends about this. But see, because the mainstream media and the government aren't acknowledging it, then it has to always have that tinge of quote-unquote conspiracy theory to it. When the majority of conspiracy theories have all been proven to be factual as time goes by. Once a safe amount of time goes by so that the general public has pretty much forgotten about it or become used to it or conditioned to it, well, then they admit it in a small headline here and there it goes. So it's all perception. when you decide to change how you perceive the government, and then you will feel that you have the power to do something. Because everybody that gets behind a microphone, everybody that's in the streets with a sign, whether you agree with them or not, okay, all of those people feel they have the power to do something about it. And all they need to do to succeed is have you feel that way too. None of us want anarchy. None of us want revolution in the streets. None of us. Nobody wants that. All we want is the same things that everybody else wants, that everybody around the world wants. Okay? The majority of people around this world just want to be left alone. We have more in common with each other than we do different from each other. Well, no matter if you have different religion or not. Most religions all preach peace. But you'll get supposed leaders telling you opposite. I've known Muslim people. They don't want to kill me. You know, might there be some radicals? Sure. But there's radicals everywhere, in everything. There's radicals in the White House right now. If you don't think that invading nation after nation after nation and slaughtering innocent people and calling it peace isn't radical, I don't know what the hell is. What is radical? So it's all perception. We give them the power. It's like if you're in an abusive relationship, okay? It's, women especially. If you have a woman who's being physically abused, mentally abused by her spouse, right, for years, you know, she has been beaten down to the point where she feels powerless and helpless. And that's exactly where that person wanted that person. When you feel powerless and helpless, that's exactly where the government wants you because you now are much more controllable. And that's why every single person throughout history that's had influence over masses of people, that had a positive message of love and peace, has been murdered. You honestly think, can anybody honestly rationalize to themselves that John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and I'm going to forget some. Oh, God, I can't remember anymore. That these people were all, John Lennon, were all murdered by just some guy who didn't like what they stood for. I mean, if that was true, people, if that was true, when we'd have presidents, okay, when we've had presidents whose approval ratings were in the toilet, don't you think you'd have people taking pot shots at them? Those radical lone wolves? You know what I'm getting at? Well, we don't, right? No, all we have are people that did not agree with the system. I mean, look at Martin Luther King. He was shot after he turned against the Vietnam War, and he had the ability to sway public opinion. Boom, dead. Everything has been done to change your perception and our perception of the power that government has. They have no power. They have none. They only have power because we allow them to have it. That's it. We are in control of this. If people would understand that, if we could all find it within ourselves to understand that, we would change it. You know, there's a lot of talk now about the FEMA camps. I remember 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that was so far out there. If I mentioned a FEMA camp, wow, I was nuts. Tinfoil hat reference, the whole 9 yards. Now look at it. I read to you on the last program military documentation telling you the protocol for putting you in an internment camp as a civilian internee. Military documentation. Boy, it's not so far-fetched anymore, is it? If we continue to allow the government to have this power over us, then people are going to start to be put in these camps. Those camps are not there for no reason. They're not there for no reason. Kellogg, Brown and Root, KBR / Halliburton, has not received a government contract to build and man these camps for no reason. Now, if we don't come to an understanding, to a realization soon, then exactly what will happen is exactly what they want to happen. And that's going to be us fighting amongst each other. And I'm going to use the 99% of us will be fighting against each other. Whether it starts out as fighting against police, whether it starts as fighting against Northcom, God, I hope not. I mean, it doesn't matter, okay? Because the police you're fighting against, they're in the same boat as you. And this is the whole point. This is what happens. This is their MO. Now, anybody that thinks that fighting against military, they're going to win, and you have no military training, I don't think that's going to work out very well for us. Just a hunch, okay? But I don't think that's going to work out. I want to avoid that at all costs. You know, the military has lots of guns, lots of big guns, lots of crazy stuff. All right? I don't care if you have an AR-15, an AK-47, a long-range rifle, and a couple sidearms. That's not going to do it. But what we could do, and this is the thing I've always advocated on this program, is becoming aware and turning our back on the system. Turn your back on it. Okay? Turn your back on it. We have to. We have to. Look, I don't know how to unite people. I don't know how to get everybody on the same page. I fear that at the point at which people will get on the same page is going to be too late. I fear that communication will be shut down. I feel that internet censorship will be greatly enhanced by that time, and the internet censorship will be greatly enhanced by that time. And, you know, like I put up in my SOPA post, people think about how much knowledge, how much communication that you get from the internet. If that was gone, what would you know? What would your sources of information be at that point? You would be stuck with newspapers and television. And most of us who are fully awake, or who think we're fully awake, I'm under no false understanding that I may be still sleeping most of the time. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm awake to a lot of things, but there could be a whole lot of things I'm not awake to yet. Like I always say, I'm smart enough to know I know nothing. Once you think you know everything, your ability to learn is pretty much done. But, think about that. That's why time is of the essence, everybody. I fear they're going to pass SOPA while we're, celebrating Christmas. And I'm pretty sure Obama will sign NDAA while we're celebrating Christmas. That's when they passed the Federal Reserve Act, right? Christmas, while everybody was home doing their thing. I have somebody in chat mentioning Naomi Wolf's End of America. I saw Naomi Wolf's End of America. I also saw her getting arrested at Occupy Wall Street. Now, I believe that Naomi Wolf made End of America during the Bush administration. I know that she's a little bit on the left there. So I haven't heard what Naomi Wolf has had to say during the Obama administration. I don't really know. And since the Obama administration has kind of tied itself to Occupy Wall Street for a little while, I don't know if, Naomi Wolf was in on that whole thing. So I don't know where she stands, in this left, liberal, socialism, fascist, whatever government. I don't know if she's saying, oh, it's the, it's the rich people that are doing it. I don't know if she's really pointing the finger at government altogether. So I don't know. So I'm a little, if you have the answer, is Naomi Wolf condemning Obama like she did to Bush, then I'm all on board with Naomi. If she's not, if she's saying it's the rich people now instead of, the guy in the White House, then she's full of shit. Sorry, that's just the way it is. She is. That's why I had such a problem with Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart. I mean, they were all saying the right things when the Bush administration was in, but in comes Slick Barry, and boy, did they change their tune. So I guess Stewart's been getting a little bit better with it, but with his brother being the head of the New York Stock Exchange, I'm sorry, I think the guy's compromised, and now Colbert just annoys the hell out of me. I got enough of Colbert when he made fun of people rallying at the White House, and making fun of that like nothing was wrong in this country, But anyway, it's all perception, people. It's all perception, and I really do fear that if people don't wake up to it, it's going to be too late, and it probably will. Remember the interview I played with the Russian when he went through the 5 steps to brainwashing a nation, and he said that it works so well that in his native land in Russia he could take somebody. He could take a citizen and actually bring him to a Soviet concentration camp and show it to him, and he could look at it with his own eyes, and he still would not believe it. And so, like he said, no, until the American is being, kicked in his these are his words, in his fat bottom by the commandant's boot, only then will he understand. And if that's the point, if that's the time where the realization happens for most people, too late. It's too late. I don't mean to be doom and gloomy. I really don't. This is our reality. This is our reality. And look, I know it's hard to jockey these thought processes in your head when you're out there, and you're sitting in a pizzeria Uno after you've been at the mall shopping, and everyone looks like everything's normal. I understand that, but in late 1930s Germany, things looked the same way. There was people having the same conversations that we're having right now, and eventually those people either got out of Germany and escaped, or they ended up in a camp. I look at it when I leave the confines of my home and I go out into the world, I really do view it as the Matrix. Much of it is not real. The realism I get when I'm out there is that if I actually talk to a person. But all the veneer that's presented in front of me, it's not real. It's barely hanging by. It's barely existing. When we had the big power outage from the Halloween blizzard here in FEMA Region 1, I told you guys this. You could see in people's eyes they were losing it. 5 days without power, people were losing it. 5 days. The thin veneer of society was crumbling. I was talking to my friend in chat, Jomer. I believe it was Jomer in chat, and he was telling me that there was parts, I don't know, someplace up north that lost power for a month, and people were shooting each other. You know, as people, the majority of American citizens are not very well equipped to deal with a stressful a situation where everything they know is going to be turned upside down. When I look at kids today and how addicted they are to their electronics, how socially inept they are, and how most of them cannot comprehend a day without a text message or fast food or immediate self-gratification, you know, and combine that with a medicated population, it's a, you know, it's a, as I say, it appears that we've been set up. It really does appear as though we've been set up hardcore. I mean, set up in every way. Look at how we made the switch from analog to digital. And why would we make the switch from analog to digital as we're heading in to the most intense solar maximum that NASA and NOAA have predicted in recent history? It may even be longer than recent history. I don't really know. Probably since the Carrington event. You know? I mean, we've been set up. Our grid is set up to fail. We're now, if you store more than 7 days worth of food, you're considered a terrorist. But yet you're forced to pay health insurance, and supposedly your health insurance is in case something goes wrong with your health. But I can't store more than 7 days worth of food in case I lose my job in this ultra crappy ass economy, and you know, or else I'm considered a terrorist, a threat to national security because I have extra cans of tuna fish, boxes of macaroni and cheese, some stored water. I'm a terrorist? Are you kidding me? I have to watch little kids get searched and felt up at the airport because why? They might have a bomb strapped to them? I mean, people, you know, I just read an article today where 14,000 deaths have been attributed in this country to Fukushima fallout. I mean, considering that, we had 3,000 people die on 9/11 from a supposed terrorist attack. Using that logic, where's the war on Fukushima? Where's the war on radiation? You know? Where's the war on I don't know, tripping over things and falling and hitting your head? Because I bet you those statistics, you know, the chances of dying from tripping and falling on and hitting your head, I do know, but scrap this, I do know that statistically, getting in an accident on your bicycle and dying, you have, I believe it's a 7-time more probability of getting on your bicycle, falling off of it and dying than you do have to die from a terrorist. So where's the war on bicycles? There is no war on terror. The war is on us. The war is on us. I don't have kids. But if I did, I'm sure I would be up in arms a lot more about what the curriculum is in schools. And all I know about that is what people talk about, friends, people I know. I had a long conversation with a teacher who finished teaching a couple of years ago, and he was shaking his head. Shaking his head about the thought processes that are implemented in programs such as No Child Left Behind. You know, it's all of these things sound great. Oh, No Child Left Behind. Well, of course, nobody wants a child to be left behind. So let's get behind that legislation. Let's get behind that program, everybody. But really, what No Child Left Behind meant was that the weakest link in the chain was as high as every kid in the classroom could go. It was to not make that child feel bad that he wasn't as smart as another kid. Now, what am I saying here? All I'm saying is that our education system does not allow people to, or children to explore their full potential. What it does is it leads to a dumbed down society. And a dumbed down society is much easier to control. I mean, look at where we rate among all subjects across the board in education and compared to other countries. We're at the bottom of the barrel. We have more people in prison than any country in the world. I mean, who are we? Who do we think we are? Let's be honest with ourselves. See, this is what happens when I don't prepare for a show. I just ramble. But I think you guys get the point. I mean, we are at the line in the sand, in my opinion. I don't know what else we need to hear from these people to get people in the streets or to have people turn their backs on the system. And look, if I was a more influential talk show host, if I had millions of listeners, I would be advocating a program. I would be putting together some type of resistance, not an armed militia. No, I don't mean that, but a movement. And the only thing I can come to think of where all of us as people can unite under is if everybody comes to fully understand what is being done to us and what is being hidden from us as far as Fukushima. Okay? So, Tea parties, the Tea Party. If anybody out there is associated with the Tea Party, please alert whoever is in charge of your thing. I don't know how these movements work. I really don't. But please, let's start getting information to Tea Party people, okay? Look, we can go with "Don't tread on me" down the road, okay? Let's start with "Don't irradiate me." All right? Let's start teaching these people about what they're being exposed to. They all tout family and they want freedom. Well, look, your family's getting poisoned, okay? Your children are more at more risk by this fallout than anybody because their cells are dividing so fast. Let's make people aware of this, okay? The Occupy Wall Street movement. We need to combine everybody under one movement. Look, we're all unhappy with how things are going, and we're all unhappy about maybe different things. We can work out the details later. All right? We're adults. We're smart enough. We can do this. I have faith in all of us. So let's spread the word about Fukushima and radiation. Please go to Facebook pages like RadChick. Okay? Go there. Jules and RadChick. I don't even know if RadChick's really doing it, but Jules, there's a website that's in the works right now. It's going to be called Fukushima Facts. Okay, we're going to try to kind of funnel all the nuclear information there. And RadChick has been in touch with the top people. Okay, with oh God, now I'm spacing the names. Arnie Gunderson and the other guy. Is it Gunderson? Am I getting it right? I'm sorry. I can't think of their names. But anyway, she's in touch with these people, okay? And here's another thing. You know, people, you want to listen to people on mainstream. Don't listen to anybody on mainstream TV who's a regular speaker on mainstream. You know? FukushimaFacts.com is up? Awesome. I didn't even know. See, I'm out of the loop. So, look. It's the one thing. This is my idea. This is the best I can come up with. If we make as many people aware about Fukushima, hopefully their eyes will open to what is being purposely hidden from them. And as I said before, I don't know how they're going to mask this radiation poisoning effect for any length of time. The only things I can come up with, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, okay? The only things I can come up with for them to cover this up are going to be they could say that it's a flu strain, a viral strain like an H1N1 H1H2, or an H1N2, H1H2, H1N5, something like that. They can come up with something and say that it's that and force vaccinations on us, you know. But then maybe they'll pull a false flag, dirty bomb somewhere in the country or a few places, coordinate attacks, and they'll add to the radiation. Look, I don't know. I really don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. And then again, as we've covered on this show, maybe there really is a binary star out there. Maybe it is coming from the south of our ecliptic plane, better known as Planet X. Maybe it's on its way, and maybe it's going to fly by and trash everything, and that's why they're just kind of letting everything just go. I don't know. I really don't know. And the thing is that nobody else knows either. It's a lot to take in, It's a lot to take in. I was listening to a Planet X show a week ago. My buddy Francis, the astronomer that was on here, he had Lucas, who I've also had on this show to discuss Planet X. He had him on his show, and some people had said, well, if it was out there, if it was that close, it would be doing more damage to us and stuff. Well, look, hey, maybe it's not close yet, and maybe the things we're seeing, that's the effect it's already having on us. I don't know. But it sure seems like we're being set up for something big. I don't know. I really don't know. But I guess nobody wanted a T-shirt tonight because nobody called. I can't even bribe someone to call this show. Why is it? What is it with my show that nobody wants to call in? I don't know. But look, everybody, and I hardly got to anything. Oh, one thing I do want to mention. Can you believe these drone pilots are complaining because they're overworked? Go get a different job. Nobody minds that you're not flying drones, killing people for no reason, scumbags. All right. Anyways, everybody. That about does it for the program. I'm on the fence about a Thursday broadcast. I have a lot of personal stuff going on right now, and I have a lot of things going, and I'm doing my best to keep the show running. If I decide not to do a Thursday show, I'll obviously post it up, and if I don't, I will see you guys after the holidays. Okay, so if I don't do a Thursday, let me just say, I hope everybody has a great Christmas. Enjoy your life. To understand these things is not to make you not enjoy your life, okay? It's actually meant for you to appreciate it and enjoy the important things in it, and maybe steer your focus away from foraging for worthless pieces of paper your entire life, thinking that's something important, okay? So on that note, everybody, I'm going to leave you with the normal words of wisdom. Please donate to Free Speech Radio. Please go to the website, grab a front T-shirt. They're really nice shirts. They fit great. They're comfortable. They're that soft T-shirt material. $20 keeps the show on the air. SOPA rolls along. We might not have it anymore. That's all I can say, everybody. All right, so have a great night. Thanks for listening. And if you're still up around 10 o'clock, come check out What the F on the Orion Talk Radio Network. Take these words to heart, people. Good night.
Your choice is simple. Join us and live in peace, or pursue your present course and face obliteration. We shall be waiting for your answer. The decision rests with you.